Throughout this segment, you will learn how to document mandatory participants, generate excusal and consent forms, create an invitation for an adult student, a minor student, and a representative from an outside agency. To start this process, click the Meeting Invitation Notice hyperlink. First, identify the meeting type by selecting either Initial IEP, Annual Review, or IEP Team Meeting to discuss amendment. Now answer the question, will early childhood transition or secondary transition be discussed at the meeting by selecting the drop-down menu. If yes, early childhood transition will be discussed is selected, a letter to the early childhood representative will be required. If the yes, secondary transition will be discussed option is selected, then a letter to the Rehabilitation Services Administration, better known as RSA, will be required and now can be generated on this page. Please note, if you choose secondary transition will be discussed, then a letter of invitation to the student must be generated. Also, if other topics will be discussed at the meeting, enter the information in the text field provided. Next, document who will be invited to attend the meeting. In this block, you have a list of the roles that are required to attend all IEP meetings. For additional information on mandatory IEP team participants, go to the OSSE's website to find the IEP process policy. Next, to each mandatory participant is the Will Attend or Excuse button. If a representative is expected to attend and fill that particular role, then select Will Attend. If a mandatory participant is not attending in whole or in part, then select the Excuse button. If you select Excuse, you must also select the appropriate option from the drop-down menu. For additional information on excusals, see the IEP process policy, which is found on the OSSE's website. Note, the same person can fill more than one mandatory role. For example, the special education teacher may also be the participant qualified to review evaluations. Also note, if early childhood or secondary transition will be discussed, the respective agency representative becomes a mandatory participant. To add an additional IEP team member, click the corresponding button. Click the drop-down menu and select the name of the person you would like to add as a participant. If the name you are looking for is not listed, go to the Student Parent Information page and add the person by clicking on the Details button at the bottom of the page. Once you have selected the person from the drop-down menu, enter the reason the person is attending the meeting in the text field provided. Please note, the Delete button within this table will appear upon saving the page. Meeting Details. In the Meeting Details block, click the text field or the calendar icon to enter the date of the meeting. To enter the time, click on each drop-down menu. To enter the location, click inside the text field and enter where the meeting will be held. To enter the point of contact information, click the button next to the person's name. The person chosen will show as the signer on all documents. The contact details fields are automatically populated from the information contained on the user's My Info page. You may edit these fields if the contact information is missing or incorrect. To permanently change this information, have the user return to the My Info tab and enter the updated information. To create an excuser form, first select the button next to the parent's name. You may click the Draft button to view the contents of the document, or click the Final button to generate and print. After generating the document, enter the date and method used to give the document to the parent. Please note, If any of the mandatory participants are excused, you are required to generate a final excusal form. When inviting a representative from the Early Childhood Agency, or RSA, the LEA must obtain parental consent. To create this type of consent form, first select the name of the person to whom the letter will be addressed to. Then select the draft button to review the contents of the document, and then select the final button to print and send the document to the parent. Once a document has been created, enter the date sent and the methods used to send the document to the parent. To generate a letter to the parent, choose one of the options listed below. If you choose the last option, the system requires the missed attempts to be entered in the communication log before you are able to create the final letter. Once you have selected the appropriate option, create the draft to review the contents of the letter, and then create the final to print and send to the parent. Now enter the date and method used to send the letter. To generate a letter of invitation to a student, click the draft button to review the contents of the letter, and then create a final letter to print and give to the student. Now enter the date and method used to send the letter. When creating a letter to a member of the Early Childhood Team, or RSA, click the draft button to view the contents of the letter, and then click the final button to print and send to the appropriate agency representative. Once a document has been generated, enter the date sent and the method used to send to the representative. Now let's take a look at the meeting invitation page when the student is 18 or older. In the block that appears at the top of the page, answer the question, have educational rights been retained by the parent? Answering no means the letters and notices on this page will be addressed to the adult student, since rights have not been retained by the parent. Answering yes means the parent will continue to be identified as the holder of educational rights. For additional information on transfer of rights, please visit the Policy and Regulation page on the OSSI website. Let's review. If the student is at least 18 years of age and holds educational rights, the user will be able to create a letter of invitation for an adult student and are not required to create a letter of invitation for the parent. Blocks to create meeting invitation addressed to Part C and RSA representatives only appear if the user indicates in the meeting purpose drop-down box that the team will be discussing early childhood transition or secondary transition. The additional IEP consent form is only required if early childhood or secondary transition is being discussed at the meeting. The form will auto-populate the applicable information about agency representatives based on the selection on the page.